Now, before we get to the content, I just paid an extra $400 to StockX so I could get an extra PS5 to give away to one of you guys. All you have to do to enter is subscribe and turn on our notifications, and if you have already done that in the past, you're automatically entered to win the PS5. Now that we got all that out of the way, the stars of the show on Sundays are often the wide receivers who make majestic catches and find the end zone time and time again. However, sometimes even the best all-pro wide receivers are shut down thanks to a solid cornerback. If there are two-star cornerbacks on a team, then that's rare. There are a lot of top-of-the-line corners that play in a great defensive system or have a quality backfield, but their counterpart on the other side is weak. The cornerback position is often the fastest guys on the team. They can cause quarterbacks to hesitate, knock the ball down, and even intercept some of the most elite quarterbacks, and for the ultimate finish, take it all the way back for a pick six. To have not just one but two players that can do this is an absolute game changer, and the reason why you are seeing larger contracts dished out for this position. Let's take a look at these often overlooked players and talk about some of the best cornerback duos right now. Before we get to the content, make sure you sack that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe, and turn on our notifications. If you want to go the extra mile to support our channel, there's also a membership program at the very top of the description down below. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! There is a reason that Aaron Rodgers always seems to have the football. The Green Bay Packers defense plays really well, and now that the secondary is finally healthy, knock on wood, there's a cornerback duo for the Green Bay Packers that will ensure the opposing teams go 3 and out more often than they score touchdowns. JAIRE Alexander and Kevin King are two cornerbacks for the Green Bay Packers who break up passes, stick to receivers like glue, and cause opposing quarterbacks' passing ratings to plummet. Alexander is arguably one of the best cornerbacks right now. The third-year corner out of Louisville has only given up 247 yards and 1 touchdown in coverage this season. He has done this all while battling a hand injury earlier and now more recently a knee injury. The most receiving yards Alexander has allowed so far was 66, and that was in week 1 when everyone's rust from a non-existent preseason was still falling off. Plus, in that opener against the Minnesota Vikings, he had a key interception to counteract the yards he allowed. The cornerback has even put up 2 games where he allowed 0 or even negative yards. Meanwhile, Kevin King is in his 4th year in the league out of the University of Washington and was very solid last year. Although he had recently returned from injury, we're going to include him in the duo because of his strong history, and upon his return, he is showing that he hasn't lost a step. King recently racked up 3 passes defended while playing in 66 out of 68 defensive snaps against the Chicago Bears. That's 97% of the time he was on the field, and his first game back after his quadricep injury kept him out for well over a month. Miami doesn't have the greatest offense in the NFL, but they sure are up and coming. But tandem Xavien Howard and BYRON Jones have been leading a secondary that has been pretty successful in shutting down opponents. In fact, Miami's defense is top 5 in power rankings. Granted, they just played the Jets, Broncos, and Chargers, and although Howard has been on and off of the injured list since joining the Dolphins in 2016 out of Baylor, except for when he was a Pro Bowler and the Dolphins' most valuable player in 2018, ever since Brian Flores came in as head coach, he was well suited to the scheme that the Dolphins are playing because the system is working for him and he is staying healthy so far. He is thriving in the #1 corner out there right now. Howard is a pure shadow corner who follows the other team's top wideout. He has allowed less than 50% of passes thrown his way to be caught this season for a passer rating of just over 50, thanks to 7 interceptions so far this season, which is leading the NFL. Howard has 3 games this season in which he has allowed a passer rating of 0 when targeted, and he has defended 383 pass routes so far. Last year, the Dolphins gave up the most touchdowns in the league, but Howard is helping turn that around in 2020, and thanks to the defense stepping up, Miami is sneakily sitting at 2nd in their division. Howard's ability to take the ball away from the opposing quarterback and head in the other direction pairs up nicely with the athletic BYRON Jones, who also has been a Pro Bowler. Jones recently finally has proven that he is speedy enough to warrant the move from safety to cornerback and stick with a receiver on the entire route. The shocking thing is that Byron Jones does not have an interception in his past 45 games, which seems impossible considering his athleticism, skill, speed, and versatility. He is part of the Dolphins duo because he has been very consistent this year, playing nearly 100% of his defensive snaps in all games but 2. He is in a huge 5-year, $82.5 million deal with the Dolphins, so a few interceptions would make the money spent on him even more worthwhile. But it is saying something that opposing quarterbacks keep throwing Howard's way instead of to the man that Jones is covering when Howard is the league leader in interceptions. That shows that Jones must be doing more than a few things right. Side note, the Dallas Cowboys defense has been the absolute worst defense this year as a result of losing Byron Jones last year in free agency. But let's transition to the Los Angeles Rams, who has a defense that is really good, and the result is that they are lucky enough to have one of the greatest cornerback duos out there. Is there a chance that defense alone can carry them all the way to the Super Bowl? Jalen Ramsey is a top 5 pick, a 3-time Pro Bowler, and is called one of the greatest corners in the NFL. As a matter of fact, we have multiple trash-talking series based off of Jalen Ramsey that I highly recommend you check out, just so you can understand how he gets into the opposing wideouts' heads. Even with the hip thing going on, he has still been in games for more snaps than he has been out of them, and he is a big reason LA is in the top of the fewest passing yards allowed this year. Ramsey doesn't work alone. Darius Williams, who came from the University of Alabama, Birmingham, a school that lost their football program right when Williams made the team. They eventually would get it back in 2017, but Williams had a brick wall stacked against him of succeeding in the NFL. Once he made an NFL club, he had to work his way up to even see playing time. And now that he is consistently in the game, he has been a riot to watch. Williams has been dominating performances this season, one being an impressive showing against the pass-happy Seahawks in which he intercepted Russell Wilson twice, with one of the interceptions in the end zone that prevented a touchdown. He even deflected a pass intended for Tyler Lockett, which could have been another touchdown at the corner of the end zone. NFL quarterbacks against Williams have nearly a 40 passer rating, lowest in the league, and he has 4 total picks so far, which is pretty good for a guy who had to try out twice just to make a small Division I program. Now, Tampa Bay has a cornerback duo of Carlton Davis and JEMEL that seem to get the job done most of the time, unless there's a Cheeto wideout on the other side of the scrimmage line and a player that could throw the ball for 70+ yards. Dean, a 3rd-round pick out of Auburn and a homegrown Floridian, knows how to break up passes, and he gave Aaron Rodgers his first interception earlier this season, which by the way was a pick 6, only the 3rd ever against the 16-year veteran Aaron Rodgers. He has struggled with illness and injury lately, but should return for the most important part of the season soon. Carlton Davis, a 2nd-rounder also from Auburn, is in his 3rd season, and quarterbacks who throw the ball into his area have a passer rating of just over 50. This year, Davis has taken the ball away from the other team via interceptions 4 times and has doubled that number in pass breakups. He could be a piece that helps Tampa Bay make a run at the playoffs, and if it all goes well, a chance to play in that big game, coin the Super Bowl, which would take place in their own home stadium, something that hasn't been done before. Now let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their cornerback duo of Joe Haden and Steven Nelson. Granted, the pass rush and run defense is absolutely outstanding, but the secondary isn't allowing anything to get out of control, except for that 70-yard touchdown that Trace McSorley threw. Yes, the greatest player of all time threw a 70-yard touchdown on them. By the way, we have a video on the career of Trace McSorley if you guys want to check that out as well. The old men's group in Pittsburgh is showing that they can get it done. Joe Haden is aging like a fine wine as he is in his 11th year in the league and the 4th oldest on the team, but he is still a 3-time Pro Bowler who can still get down the field, has 1 interception, and is a major factor in why the Pittsburgh Steelers have such a strong defense. Even through a lot of criticism, especially from the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, who claim that the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary isn't what it used to be. The fact is that the Steelers are 2nd in the league in opponent passing yards per game, plus mentally and leadership-wise, Joe Haden has the veteran advantage of helping centralize the defense. To complement Haden is the much younger Steven Nelson, a free agent gem that the Steelers signed last year after he showed spark in Kansas City. In 2019, he didn't allow a single touchdown. He hasn't been quite as untouchable this season, but has 2 interceptions so far. One impressive stat from Nelson is that he is able to step up against some of the quickest receivers. In 92% of shared snaps, where he matched up with Odell Beckham Jr. earlier this season, he only allowed OBJ 1 reception and 3 yards. The New England Patriots offense sure isn't what it used to be, but they still have that great quarterback duo in Stephon Gilmore and JC Jackson. Jackson is in his 3rd season with New England out of the University of Florida, has 6 interceptions, and his passer rating is almost as low as if quarterbacks just spike the ball in every play instead of passing in his direction. Oh, and he is just now getting to see regular playing time. Yet Jackson has held opposing quarterback ratings to under 50 and is always stuck like glue to opposing wide receivers, and obviously has the sticky hands to bring down the football as well. Either way you look at it, Jackson has come out of the woodwork this season and is due for a payday and a promotion if New England wants to keep a strong secondary. Stephon Gilmore paired with a breakout star in Jackson sort of makes up for the Patriots' less than stellar play on offense this year. Gilmore has proven thus far that he is just as strong as he has been in the past, especially when he recently had the task of covering perhaps the best wideout in the league in DeAndre Hopkins, tasked with that coverage right after missing 3 games due to injuries. The Cardinals only targeted Hopkins when he was covered by Gilmore 4 times, with Hopkins being held to just 55 total yards. There even was a tip that was probably intended for Hopkins that landed in the hands of the Patriots defense. The Patriots came out on top over the Cardinals, mostly thanks to their defense, with the duo of Gilmore and Jackson showing that they are 2 cornerbacks to be reckoned with. The New Orleans Saints are getting hot at the right time, and the cornerback duo of JANORIS Jenkins and MARSHON LATTIMORE is impressive. Jenkins is holding quarterbacks to under a 60 passer rating, and in man-to-man coverage, he is often stuck to the receiver like Velcro. He has 3 interceptions this season with back-to-back picks in games recently, and was really heating up before succumbing to a knee injury that will sideline him for an unknown amount of time. Perhaps one of Jenkins' best moves to get inside opponents' heads is with a constant flow of trash talk, especially via his favorite social media platform. It takes 2 to make a duo, and MARSHON LATTIMORE is the other. The 2-time Pro Bowler has 3 passes defended and 1 interception this season, and those numbers aren't quite eye-popping. However, his 43 combined tackles as a cornerback will probably be a career high for him if he can just remain on the field. Injuries tend to plague him as well. However, when healthy, one of Lattimore's most admirable qualities is just shutting down the best wideouts in the game, not just one time but on multiple occasions. One example is for a 3rd straight game, Lattimore seemed to put a force field around Tampa Bay star wide receiver Mike Evans. Evans put up zeros while matched up against Lattimore and could only manage 64 yards, even when up against the other Saints defenders. In early November, Evans was only targeted twice when against Lattimore, and he had no catches. This duo is even more important to the Saints now that they're playing with a 2nd-string quarterback, so keeping points off of the board is crucial for New Orleans to stay ahead of the Bucs in the playoff race. The Baltimore Ravens have a loaded secondary and a duo that are prime ball hawks in Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters. Jimmy Smith has made himself relevant again, thus I am putting him ahead of Marlon Humphrey. Just with that mention alone, you can tell the Ravens are loaded. The 32-year-old Smith is making a campaign for a Pro Bowl-worthy season, like top 10 of all cornerbacks in both coverage and all-around play, when the veteran was expected just to be a fill-in when signed to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. That deal has turned out to be a steal for the Ravens, as he has proven this year. He is more of a linchpin to the defense than a substitute. He's been a safety, but now he is covering the slot and is doing a darn good job of it. He may not have any interceptions or forced fumbles, while Humphrey and Peters have forced 11 turnovers, but he has made a huge difference. He is still big, fast, strong, and physical, even though he is considered a grandpa in NFL years and is often on the injury report because your ligaments would be worn out too after that many years of covering the gazelles of the league. Then, to complement Smith, is the I act more like a receiver than a cornerback, Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters is known to do a lot of talking on the field, off the field, to the media, to anyone that would really listen. I mean, Marshawn Lynch and him are cousins after all, so talking does run in the family. Although he was basically run out of Kansas City and the Rams basically gave him away, he seems to have found a stable home in Baltimore and perhaps has even matured quite a bit now that he's in his 7th season. The 3-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro has 3 interceptions this season, and there is a reason that many quarterbacks look the other way when Peters is covering deep. He always seems to find a good way to break up the pass or sometimes even bring the ball down. He does have 30 interceptions in his career thus far. In the latest matchup against the Steelers, where the Ravens were hanging tough even though they had a ton of offensive players out due to COVID-19, and was able to get his hands on the football and was a pure menace to the Steelers offense, who many thought would easily run away with the game. So you gotta give the Ravens secondary props. They are a true hazard and displayed all heart in a difficult situation. If the Ravens can get Lamar Jackson back and most of the starters off of the virus list, the secondary will be just the cherry on top of Baltimore's now long shot run at the playoffs. There are a ton of quality cornerbacks in the NFL, but only a few teams have such a strong duo that they can force opposing quarterbacks' passing completion rates to plummet. The Ravens are so strong that even when their best duo exits the game, the backups continue to play strong. The Dolphins tandem almost makes you forget that their offense is unable to get very many points on the board. Green Bay has a knack for torturing opposing quarterbacks. The Rams, Saints, and Patriots, their secondary gets it done over and over. Next time, instead of putting the blame on the quarterback for throwing that interception, maybe give some props to that cornerback for making one heck of a play. Thanks for watching our upload today. If you guys made it to the end of the video, consider subscribing and turning on our notifications, because chances are we have other content that you guys would enjoy. Aside from that, comment down below what ranking you would like us to do next, because I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.